I thought it might be interesting, since my observation is that we are, much to my dismay and much to the dismay of many others, that we are sliding into dystopia these days. Now, that's not to say there's no countervailing force out there that's fighting against this dystopian slide or slouch. So we are not in dystopia, but we are lurching towards dystopia. And this feels like an important enough matter that I maybe want to write about it, but I don't know. I mean, in some fashion or form, and I'm writing about it now in a manner that is fictional, but it might be worth just looking at analytically in a non-fictional manner. But I've just thought about the best way to go about doing that. What would give me inspiration? What would give me, some meat to chew on that would make the inspiration last? Because writing, like all creative endeavors, is I've grown to hate this statement, but I can't say that it's not true. That it's 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. So what's going to keep you inspired through? You don't exactly sweat when you're writing, but it's still, an endeavor, an effort. I think a way of starting to talk about it might be looking at dystopias as they've been depicted in film or on the page. And it just so happened that last night I was watching Blade Runner. Now, Blade Runner is a movie I've always admired more than liked. I know that it's great. I know that the visuals are incredible, and that it was groundbreaking in many, many ways, and prescient in so many ways. It's set in the year 2019. Wow. I'm not so sure that I wouldn't exchange our 2022 for Blade Runner's 2019. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. I'm not just engaging in idle rhetoric there. But anyway, I've always admired the movie more than I've liked it, just because, a confession here, I find it kind of boring. Or I don't know if boring is the right word. It's mesmerizing, and it very much catches your, it grabs all of your senses. So in that sense, it's not really boring. But to me, it kind of functions the way that ASMR does these days. It's very slow-paced, which I don't have anything against. Some of my favorite movies are very slow-paced. I don't think Apocalypse Now is boring, and it's incredibly slow-paced. I could think of some other examples. Taxi Driver is pretty slow-paced. But the combination of the slow pace and like the music, the Vangelis score. It's kind of funny that Vangelis also did the theme song to Chariots of Fire. I mean, they really had it going on back in the early 80s. Whoever they were, I guess are they a band or were they a person? I don't even know. But they had that electronic music that sounded kind of that could also sound kind of classical, and it could be jarring, but it also could be kind of nice and mellow, like the theme song to Chariots of Fire. That along with that image of them, all the runners running on the shore, Wow, what a visual. But I'm talking about a different movie now. But Blade Runner, I think the combination of the music and the visuals and like the fact that it's always raining, like rain makes me sleepy. And so it's like all these things are working together to make it to create this soporific effect on me as I watch. But I do appreciate the movie, and this is the last time that I watched it. I've become more aware of the ways in which it can be said to be truly a great film. Taking the whole film noir convention, setting it in a futuristic, putting it in a futuristic setting. I don't think anyone had done that before. But okay, what can we say about the dystopian vision of Blade Runner compared to what we've got going on today? How did it start to rain so much in Los Angeles in Blade Runner's version of the future? Los Angeles it's like close to a desert. It doesn't really rain that much there. It's not like Seattle or Portland or places like that. It's not the Pacific Northwest, but the rain is a very important part of the aesthetics of the movie. But what do we have in the movie as opposed to what we've got going on right now? Well, first of all, there's the AI element. Now, for some reason, I've never really felt all that inclined to think of AI. I'm still, I'm open to the idea of AI being a danger, like AI taking over, like is the plot of so many science fiction movies. But I still can't really conceive of sentient robots, of artificial beings that are actually just as human as humans are, who have consciousnesses. It's to me that just doesn't seem even like science fiction. It seems like fantasy. It seems more like a science fiction version of fantasy. I know that AI on a lower level exists. Smartphones are AI. Every kind of cyber device is AI. Every kind of quote unquote smart device is AI. They're talking about driverless cars now, which Sam Hyde is on record saying he's dubious that they'll be able to put it together. Others are saying, it's just around the corner. Pretty soon we'll all be just riding, and I'll just be recording, instead of recording this podcast while driving and endangering my life and the lives of others around me. I'll just be sitting in the back seat while the car drives itself, recording my podcast. I'm kidding about endangering the lives of myself and others. I'm perfectly aware of the road and perfectly aware of everything around me. Just to emphasize that fact. But anyway, I know people see it that way. And you're free to see it the way you see it. My driving record speaks for itself. It'd be funny if I got into a wreck just after saying that. But if that were to happen, you wouldn't be watching this video. So that in Blade Runner, the issue is the hero is on the wrong side. He's in this world where this artificial intelligence, by the hero I mean Deckard, Harrison Ford's character. He's in this world where these artificial beings have been created to be to be slaves of mankind, and their consciousness, their humanity has been glossed over. And Deckard, he's kind of a reluctant assassin or what have you, detective / assassin, but it's something he's good at. So he does it for the money, but he also, his conscience bothers him. And then he meets a replicant, and there's a scene that some would find problematic today, where he kind of, some would say, rapes her. It's not a scene that I view as being rapish or rapey, but I know that some will see it that way now, and it's kind of surprising the movie hasn't been canceled yet for that scene, because I know people are trained to go just hog wild over these kinds of issues these days. Not that I approve rape, but I don't approve of the expanded definition of rape that they're trying to push nowadays. Anyhow, so the problem in this world is that the powers that be have created this slave class, and the man who's the hero, who's seemingly the hero, is fighting on the even if he's just fighting reluctantly, he's still fighting to oppress this group of replicants who are, they've got consciousness that is as complex as any human beings, and they should have all the attendant rights that and dignities that attend human life, but they don't. They're not treated that way. And it seems like, if I could draw any parallels, well, I mean, it's hard not to see a parallel with abortion, of course, but that's been with us for decades now. Abortion was legal in most of the West when Blade Runner was made. But that's the most striking case of human beings being treated as utilities and being eliminated, being taken from, being snatched up and thrown literally into a trash bag, and murdered just because they're inconvenient. But I also think that we live right now at a time where there's a real tension between the rhetoric of the powers that be, let's just call them, and who they really are, because they represent themselves as believing in individual rights and being enlightened in that sense of not being oppressors, and yet at the same time, in the last 2 years alone, we've seen, it's been mind-boggling to me, and I thought I was cynical before, but it's been amazing to me to see the way in which so many of those in charge, with power of one kind or another, whether they've been elected or more often unelected, how they've really seen this whole human rights thing as entirely negotiable, and it's something that can be taken away. They can tell you to stay in your house indefinitely. They can tell you to put foreign substances into your body that might kill you or might give you severe side effects as has happened to many, many people that have ruined their lives. Hopefully not permanently, but probably, unfortunately, in many cases, permanently. They can force that on you at the point of a gun, essentially, or threaten you with your livelihood because of for that. They can do all kinds of things to you, so apparent and like, just because there's a quote unquote emergency, emergency powers, and so they've begun to bare their fangs, and we see who they really are. We see that they are not that distinguishable. Our ruling class is not at all distinguishable from the men and women who ruled the world of Blade Runner, in that there's a class of people that are used as who are seen as not having any intrinsic or essential rights. Like I've pointed out many times, inessential workers, language like that, rhetoric like that. That's just eugenics by the back door. Calling anyone inessential, calling anyone's job inessential, is basically saying, you are worthy of being called. You are not like us, the ones who are telling you these things, the ones who have these exalted positions to tell you these things. So we don't have all of the cool futuristic things going on that Blade Runner had. We don't have flying cars. We don't have Los Angeles hasn't become this megalopolis with massive advertisements everywhere, and a bunch of Chinese or Japanese people riding around on bikes. That hasn't happened. We haven't seen the Asian takeover of the West Coast that was being predicted by many back in the 80s, when Japan was really on a tear. Of course, now China's on a tear, aren't they? But China's not really as associated with the West Coast as Japan is. I don't believe, the West Coast of America. Anyhow, so there are commonalities between the Blade Runner dystopia and our budding dystopian society that I am trying to fight in my own small way, and many other brave and bold people are standing up against today. The main commonality is that they see us as they see our rights and our dignity as human beings as negotiable, not as inalienable, as it says in the Constitution, but as negotiable. These things can be chucked. These things can be pushed aside if we have a quote-unquote emergency, like a quote-unquote pandemic. So those are my thoughts on dystopia our current dystopia after seeing Blade Runner. Tell me what you think. Thanks for watching.